All right. Well, hey, we've been asked at our YouTube channel to do a talk about what's in the pack. So this is what is in the pack. Obviously, we're going to start out first with what the pack is. It is an Osprey, very nice pack we use. I've modified it a little bit. I've sewn on some deal for some camera gear on the front, and got a spot for trash and snacks and things like that. And it doesn't weigh much. It's a 2-pound pack, more or less. I don't have I don't have actually the names of all of these things necessarily, or the exact weights. Carrying around 30 pounds, probably a little bit less most of the time. Now, with the pack, this is one of the most important things, is this little guy right here. This is a trash compactor bag, which I will, before we're done, we always got this stuff in the bottom down here, like this, sticking out the top, like so. And the first thing that goes in this trash compactor bag is this quilt. This is a 20-degree enlightened, no, UGQ quilt is what it is. 20-degree, does me just fine. I'll explain to you how we managed to sleep with all this stuff on later on. I also carry with this guy a little pillow that I can inflate. Doesn't weigh very much. And that's kind of the whole business. This stuff, along with all of my sleeping gear, which I'll go over with you in a minute, ends up in the bottom of this trash compactor bag, in the bottom of this pack, mainly because you don't want it ever to get wet, right? So that stuff travels inside of there, along with this stuff, and we'll go through that all in a minute. Anyhow, so basically from right to left, we're going to do it like this. These are my really good trail runner shoes. Basically, they're just tennis shoes, really, in a way. We use them all the time. They're very, very good. I've got a little pair of gaiters that go with them. Excellent little business to keep the rocks out of your shoes. I like that. I'll have these around camp. I typically carry them. They don't weigh hardly anything. And I carry stuff like this just to keep myself where I can survive. Basically, I have health problems. One of my health problems is a kind of cancer that I have that has been treated with chemotherapy that has really, in some senses, ruined my feet and my lower legs from about here down, I'd say. They're pretty much messed up. And so I don't feel my feet really well, and it's really important that we don't get blisters. And so these things, along with these beautiful little toe socks, these little toe socks, along with these things, prevent blisters. And I learned this all the hard way. Often, most everything I've learned in my life, I've learned the hard way. And one of the things I learned the hard way was my old hiking boots with my regular old socks that I wore my whole life hiking do not work any longer with neuropathy, right? So those socks, in conjunction with those trail runners, prevent blisters. Super good deal. I wish I'd have known about that lots and lots of years ago. So again, the feet are pretty much not working really well, and you go for a long hike for a day. I carry these in order to have something else to put on and get some air down into those guys, right? So when I get to camp, those things go on, my feet start getting some air to them, and pretty important part of my program. If I couldn't have figured out how to manage my feet, I couldn't have done the walking that I'm doing. Couldn't have done the walking that I'm doing. Now, of course, I have my nice little air pad that I use for sleeping on the ground at night. I carry a chair with me because my feet are bad enough that I don't like to sit on the ground. Some of this is just age, some of it's not being in very good shape. 5 years ago, I couldn't raise my hands over my head for 10 seconds because of all the chemotherapy. 7 rounds of chemotherapy plus 2 stem cell transplants did not help at all. And so I'm really not very strong in some ways, and so sitting in a chair is helpful to me. That's extra weight that a lot of people wouldn't carry, but I kind of need to carry that stuff. This is my tent, really light little tent. It's a one-man tent. Got all of your little stakes and garbage that you have to have with that. Dig a hole, poop in it, yay. Nice little flashlight, like that guy. Right straight from the dollar store, I think. It works really well. This is some of my equipment that I just carry for fun. That I learned from Jupiter. And that thing is a watercolor set that I'll use if I need to take a day off or something and nothing to do. I'll do some watercolor paintings, which is fun. Okay, cook set. Now this is big old stainless steel cook thing. It's not the lightest that you can get, and it has a little canister of gas in there. This little business right here is a really cool little stove. I mean, it weighs ounces literally. Got my lighter in there. Got a little cup in there, and that's all there is to the thing. I tell you what, I had no idea that we had such good equipment until the day that I started checking some of this out. You know, I backpacked my whole life, really, off and on, all the time. I mean, from clear when I was a teenager, you know. This little thing is amazing. This little guy right here, you fold it all open, like so. Get this thing ready to roll. It's pretty stunning, actually, how well it works. And you screw that thing onto there. I mean, this whole thing weighs like nothing. It weighs like nothing. And then you cook on it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it all fits in that little guy right there. Of course, you got to have your spoon. That goes with you to eat some dinner out of. This little business here is my water filtration kit, basically. I have a 2-liter Cnoc squeeze bottle, right? I carry various little things with me all the time in order to filter if I need to, because some of the water sources on the Arizona Trail are kind of sketchy, right? And you don't want to dump a bunch of nasty stuff into your filter so that you can't use it. Now this is the filter that I use. Pretty good deal, actually. We will screw that typically onto this Cnoc bag like this. Just screw that on there and hang it in a tree and let it filter out. If it's dirty water, really bad, what I will do is I will get this little guy, scoop up the cleanest part of the really dirty water that I have, and filter it through this little mesh bag. If it's dirtier than that, I will use this piece of cloth and take my time and really filter it slowly so that I don't ruin this thing, okay? Because these guys only have a certain amount of capacity for dirt. Now, what you typically do with these things once you have filtered all your water out and you've got it all done and you're ready to drink it, right? You take this guy, got some water in here, and you pull off that hose. You don't need that to do this part of the process. And you put this thing in here like so, and you give it a squeeze and it'll squirt. Oh, but it's got to do it the other way, this way, right? Yeah. And it will basically backflush all of the crud out of the filter that you just put in there. You know, I've been using this thing for a long time. It's still working pretty darn good. Especially if you're not in a huge hurry, it works good. Yeah, so that's pretty much the drill. I'll carry these 2 bottles of water, and if I know it's a long carry, I mean, these 2 bottles of water, if the weather's not too hot, it'll last me 10 miles, you know. But if you got a lot farther carry than that, then you're going to fill this Cnoc bag up with 2 liters of water just to carry with you that needs to be filtered later. And so that'll be how I do that part. I've got my little buff that I wear. I got my little stretch pants that I wear. I have a shirt, really a good shirt, I like it. It's an old diving shirt from back in the day when I used to be able to dive before cancer. How do you like that? Carre Dive Center in Isla Mujeres. I used to dive down there all the time. But they don't want me diving anymore, seeing as how the cancer thing is sort of, who knows whether I could dive or not, but they don't like it, so I don't go I've gone once, I think. Got my little shorts that I wear. That goes good. And the shorts, the thing I like about these shorts is they have this little pocket where I keep all my chapsticks and stuff like that. Kind of keep me all lubricated up when it's hot outdoors. I got my little, I have a partial, my repair kit has different things in there like that, stuff for washing up, stuff for repairing things. There's needles, paracord for tying things together, some extra Gorilla tape in there. What else have I got in there? Got quite a few things, but just for if something breaks, you can mostly fix it all up. TP, you got to have that. Unfortunately, I gotta have a whole bag full of medication, which I take with me. That's there. This is Darwin's old ass pad. These things are fantastic for sitting on. Just pull one of those out. You don't have to put together a chair. You can just sit her down on a rock or whatever. Makes sitting down pretty darn convenient. You got to have some walking poles, especially if it's snowy, and we've had some pretty serious snow occasionally up here on the Arizona Trail. There was 18 inches of snow up there on Miller Peak when I crossed that. And then lastly is my cold weather gear. Okay, now cold weather gear comes in several flavors. If you get into a bad rainstorm, that is a set of water socks right there that you can put on your feet, because my feet get really cold and they get really hot because of this neuropathy I have. These things really help your feet keep from getting really cold if you're walking in a partial snowstorm or a hard rainstorm or something like that. Now you just want to avoid that stuff mostly, but these will prevent you from really getting cold. I mean, they're just a neoprene socks. Basically, they're like a wetsuit for your feet. Put them on and you can handle just about any old kind of cold with that. Very good. These go on over my gloves. These little guys, they're just dishwashing gloves that you use for your kitchen. So you got your gloves on, little light gloves, which I keep in there. And then you put these on over the top, and that way your hands are not getting water on them all the time that are sucking the heat out of them. So these work good for that business. My rain gear is just a set of frog togs, which by the way I use also for just a set of windproof pants, which work good for that, and a little windproof top. This actually will shed a lot of water. Now, by the way, if I think I can avoid water falling on me when I walk, and I pretty much avoid. That's the best solution, but you can't always avoid that. Fact is, tomorrow it's supposed to be raining. Or is it? Yeah, tomorrow it's supposed to be raining over there where I'm going to be going, and I'll probably go out and walk in the rain. I'll just put on my frog togs and go. Mainly because the girls are going to pick me up, and I'm going to be able to sleep in the camper tomorrow night. So that's how that works. Now this right here is some of the most important stuff right here. This is all of my sleeping gear and cold weather gear. Now, they say you pack your fears, and I'll tell you honestly, my biggest fears are getting cold at night. Now some of that's from this neuropathy and things like that I have, and some of that's just I don't like to be cold, you know. So I have a very good little down jacket that I wear. It's a little bit of a full length for me. I'll put that on at times. That's pretty helpful if you're real cold. I will carry also. This business here is pretty cool. This is a set of, they're not down. They're, what do you ever call that other stuff? It's not down, it's like, it's synthetic. So I got a pair of synthetic booties for my feet when they get cold at night. I got a set of synthetic pants that I use for sleeping at night, right? So these guys, I'll put these on at night. And that's what makes my 20-degree quilt work all right when it's actually colder than that at night. And I have in here my underwear, my long underwear, a set of underwear pants. I've got this little gizmo here that I wear over my ears at night because it gets cold with your head sticking out of your quilt. So that thing has even been modified to fit my dreads. Isn't that funny? Well, that is the top. Oh, there you go. That's the thing right there. So anyway, that is the plan, and I guess there's one more thing I wanted to show you is the camera gear that I'm bringing along. And so I will set that up for you and show that to you too. But I want to show you the camera gear that I have going on here. Now if you take a look at this, this is the little tripod. Just a little cheapo tripod. I mean, it cost about 10 bucks or something. That I use for getting the little walk-by parts to the videos. Now, if you can look here, you can see that I have my little selfie stick that I have hooked onto my camera here. That's a pretty important thing. You really kind of have to have the selfie stick if you want to see the camera footage in the background without it being too bumpy, right? It gets to be super bumpy if you're not careful with that. And the last thing you can see here is this little camera, which is really a good camera. It's called a Sony ZV-1 vlogging camera is what it is. And it really does, it works really good. I mean, we use it all the time out doing these things, and I never did any vlogging before I got a hold of this thing, and it works pretty good, honestly. I like it a lot. Takes a lot of stuff. That whole business weighs about 30 pounds. I mean, it's not the lightest. There's lots of people that are carrying way less stuff than I am, but I kind of need to have some stuff, right? I mean, I really do. I feel like it's I struggle with health problems, and it's helpful for me to have the stuff that is necessary to be able to succeed at doing this. I think that if I was trying to do it with a lot less stuff, I would be a lot less comfortable and a lot less inclined to do it. Probably nobody who's out walking is that comfortable. But it's a little bit harder when you have neuropathy and things like that to contend against. I would love to encourage anybody that struggles with health problems to figure out some ways to battle with that. You know, you don't have to be just like everybody else or do it just like them in order to be successful. You got to figure out how to do it your own way, you know, and figure out how to, I think they say, hike your own hike, right? Well, I'm lucky to be hiking at all, and I feel really glad that I can, you know. I certainly don't want to be in competition with a bunch of 20-year-olds that are doing ultralight hiking, although I respect them greatly. I've learned a lot of things from them, and I encourage them to do the best they can. Probably my message that I have isn't going to be toward those guys, because they already can do what they can do. It's going to be toward those of us who are a little bit older and are struggling maybe with some health issues. And yeah, so encourage you to get out there and give it a try. You may not be able to do it just like some young person, but you can certainly do as good as you can do. And so yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope you enjoyed seeing that. Have a good day.